This video, I just want to take uh, a few moments and just talk about the character of Cleopatra. But I know we touched on her when we in the last scene, the long scene, Act Two, Scene Two. We'll revisit some of that, and I want to read a few other things. But I think it's important just to step back and just think of how magical, beguiling, frustrating, enchanting the character of Cleopatra is, particularly when you think about. So, Antony and Cleopatra was first performed in 1607 and collected in the folio in 1623. So, what we got? We got 400 years ago, right? So we got a long time ago. And just think of how Shakespeare draws this female character. Think of her so far, what we've seen, it cajoling Antony, entreating him, giving him what for. She could be bitchy and throw these fits, but it's always, for when I read it, it's a tongue in cheek a little bit. There's this love for Antony. She matches him wit for wit, guile for guile, physically, emotionally, psychologically, philosophically, intellectually. I don't know if there's a rival to Cleopatra in any other Shakespeare work. Call my bluff on a female character. Here's Barbus, uh, Antony's servant, describing her. Right. Remember, this is after when Antony makes that marriage arrangement with Octavia. Anthony, and Mason is now. Anthony must leave her. Never, he will not. He will never leave Cleopatra. Here's Cleopatra. Age cannot wither her. She's already like 38, right? Age cannot wither, which is young, but age cannot wither her, nor custom stale her infinite variety. This is what Cleopatra is, a woman of infinite variety, always dissembling, always becoming, able to be politically strategic, but also showing great emotion, love, depth. Other women cloy the appetites they feed, but she makes hungry where most she satisfies. So she satisfies and makes one hungry for more. Vilest things become themselves in her. Right? Here are a couple other thoughts we'll jump to. Focus on Cleopatra's infinite variety. The fabulous language that accompanies Cleopatra's fanciful impulses abounds in what most critics characterize as hyperbole. In Egyptian verbiage, mortals and Hellenic deities are spoken of interchangeably. Egypt's queen, here's a quote from the play, Act 1, Scene 2, 157, 158, makes a shower of rain as well as of Jove. So the gods are intermingled with humans here. Uncertainty swirls around the meaning of Cleopatra's superlative visions. Are we meant to see what Cleopatra sees? Or are we to regard, for example, her crowning Antony, quote, the demi-atlas of the earth, the arm, the burgonet of men, that's Act 1, Scene 5, 24, 25, as lovelorn exaggeration? A popular critical tendency has been to root the expansive nature of the lover's speech in the vagaries of romance. Anne Barton decides that the lovers are, quote, as elusive and contradictory as people known in real life and as difficult to assess or explain. What logic there is at work, Barton writes, is that of love itself, and its pattern is characteristically circular. Likewise, Rosalind Colley's illuminating study of the lovers' hyperbolic language, think of how they talk to one another. Antony, new heaven and new earth to describe my love for you, right? This hyperbolic language, but it's also meaningful as well. Or what she refers to as her twice heightened speech, ultimately determines that their love rejects conventional hyperbole, and this is really important when you think of Antony and Cleopatra, invents and creates new overstatements, new forms of overstatement in the language itself. We can read the insatiability of their love. So it's like they're insatiable for one another. A little later in this essay, I want to quote from an important passage that talks even more so about Cleopatra. Cleopatra's Egypt may be compared to a stage ruled by an actress who nurtures fiction to no apparent end other than to inspire Antony to jubilantly decree, quote, this is from Act 1, Scene 1. There's not a minute of our lives should stretch without some pleasure now. So think of Cleopatra too as courting play, pleasure, infinite luxury as far as the motives behind her flight from the Battle of Actium. Uh, Hall can specify that they remain opaque. So when she flees the battle later, I think there's something important behind that. No. So I think Cleopatra is always acting strategically, but there's also a lot of love in her acting and what she likes to convey in that as well. And a little bit later, another moment I want to point out with Cleopatra. To applaud Cleopatra's transcendence is to give oneself over completely to aesthetic impulses. Cleopatra's transcendence. I think we can compare and juxtapose her life with Octavius Caesar. Octavius Caesar ultimately comes out on top at the end, but Cleopatra's life, one of play, one of pleasure. To applaud Cleopatra's transcendence is to give oneself over completely to aesthetic impulses, to embrace the notion, the nightmare for many early modern polemicists. This is the anti, if you're on the side of Octavius Caesar, work, political strategy, always think ahead, never play, never have fun, that idleness serves no greater purpose than its own creative ends. This is Cleopatra's idleness, the languorous life she leads with Antony. Yet rather than beginning a world of chaos and vice, as many had forecasted, an idle abandon in Shakespeare's lover spawns a higher, enchantingly playful and timeless world that subsumes all clayey conquests. So the world that Antony and Cleopatra create, even momentarily, it transcends the mortal world. Paradoxically, this wondrous world comes into greater focus when, in the eyes of Roman law, remember we're always comparing Roman versus Egypt too, the lovers are most in mortal danger. This perception returns us to our initial puzzlement over Shakespeare's ostensible support for anti-theatrical allegations. We have Cleopatra. Cleopatra allure, this article argues, can Cleopatra's allure be more potent than the bite of a venomous asp? Even at the end of the play, when Caesar is observing the deaths, it's like Cleopatra reigns supreme, and it's really a testament to her infinite variety. You can look at her speech throughout the text. Here's a great a note right here. In this Shakespeare wiki, many consider Shakespeare's Cleopatra as one of the most complex and fully developed female characters in the playwright's body of work. She is frequently vain and histrionic enough to provoke an audience to scorn. At the same time, Shakespeare invests her and Antony with tragic grandeur. These contradictory features have led to famously divided critical responses. That's what's great too. Some people loathe Cleopatra with her haughty grandeur, and some people love her. I love her just excess. Really good article about Cleopatra that describes the book to the biography, mentions Shakespeare and some more things about her. But you could just see in just Act 2, Scene 2, and if you're thinking of writing on Cleopatra, Barbas's descriptions, right, can really show how she appealed, how she magically transfixes Antony, how she beguiles him, and just their love for one another. I think makes her just a rich, kind of frustrating, wonderfully brilliant. As far as literature goes, plays, poetry, fiction, we want characters like Cleopatra who are fully round, fully human. They're not one-sided, right? And we really get that writ large with Cleopatra, and we'll see that as we even walk through the latter parts of the play.